loud. So horribly, deafeningly loud. The school hallway was Lily Albright's least favorite place on earth. On top of the usual buzz of students talking to each other as they scrambled to get to class, Lily had another problem to deal with. Caleb Thorne is so cute in his soccer uniform. I wonder if he'd accept me asking him to the girls' choice dance. I really hope my mom doesn't make us have frozen pizza for dinner again. Did I remember to write down the chemistry homework? Ugh, I need to go to the bathroom, but if I go, will I make it to class in time? Unfortunately, Lily was born with the curse of telepathy. You might think, oh, that's so cool, like a superhero. Reality was far from the comics. When she was little, she threw horrible tantrums on the ground in public, screaming and writhing on the ground because it was too loud. Her parents thought she might be autistic and got her tested to no avail. There was no test for telepathy. It was way too far-fetched. So Lily learned to adapt. Her parents bought her noise-canceling headphones that she usually wore in public, but they weren't allowed at school, so she spent great effort channeling others' thoughts into mere background noise over the first few years of elementary school. The other kids thought she was super weird and did their best to avoid her as she learned more about her powers. Half the time, she accidentally responded to what people were thinking instead of what they were saying. It didn't take long to get into the habit of not saying a word unless she was 100% sure she saw people's lips moving. Little Lily thanked her lucky stars when her dad got a job out of state, just in time for her to start 4th grade with her powers relatively in check. Lily was friendly, but purposely didn't get too close to anyone. She made the mistake of trying to tell someone the truth once. Never again. So she usually did her own thing. People were boring anyway. After so many years of hearing people's innermost thoughts, they were all predictable. "Guess who?" a voice trilled as a pair of hands covered Lily's blue eyes. "Chloe," she said flatly. Lily knew she was sneaking up behind her, but it would be too suspicious to dodge. She did this all the time. "You're no fun," Chloe pouted as she released her hands, bouncing into Lily's line of sight. The tiny, freckled redhead had been following Lily around like a lost puppy all through middle school after she warned the other girl about a nasty prank some boys had planned for her. Lily may be paranoid about her secret getting out, but she wasn't heartless. Chloe was new to the school at the time. What new student would be able to make a good impression after having soda dumped all over them in front of everyone? She had been grateful ever since. "What are you talking about? I'm the life of the party," Lily deadpanned, not in the mood to hold a conversation while so many other people's thoughts swirled around in her head. Her range was about 100 yards, but after much practice, she was usually able to drown out noise from other classrooms when the door was shut. Concentrating in class against 20-something students was far easier than in the hallway against 100. Chloe pouted. "Whatever. Do you want to come to the mall with me this weekend? They're having a sale at my favorite store." Lily tolerated Chloe's presence outside of school because he was a fairly straightforward person. Her thoughts almost always matched up with her words, like right now. "Ooh, how much allowance do I have saved? Enough for 2 skirts? No, more like 2 shirts and a pair of jeans. Or 2 shirts, some earrings, and a new lip gloss. Forget it. I'll have to see what's at the store before I decide anything." "Sure, sounds fun." The mall wasn't much better than the high school's hallways, but at least she might be able to get a soft pretzel out of it. "Awesome! I'll text you later to finalize the details. Are you going to ask anyone to the dance? I was thinking about asking a boy in my math class. He's really cute and goes over his notes with me because I suck at math," Chloe said with sparkling eyes. Her inner thoughts were gushing about him. She must really like this guy. "Nah, I'm not interested in anyone right now," Lily said nonchalantly. How could she be interested in a guy when she knew what they were really like? Starting in middle school, she had been pounded with other students' lecherous thoughts all day. If it wasn't perverted, it was usually about sports or video games. She doubted there was a single guy with original thoughts out there and had no problem keeping her distance. It's not like anyone was interested in her anyway. She had a plain, forgettable face, usually hidden behind her straight, brittle white blonde hair. She knew what kind of impression she left on people. She could hear it when she met them. It was no skin off her nose, really. Lily had accepted her place in the universe as the only telepath out there. She knew how to blend in with people, but didn't truly belong. "Aw, I was hoping we could double," Chloe said disappointedly. "It's not too late to change your mind. The dance is still a few weeks away." With a wave, she disappeared around a bend in the hallway and headed to her next class. Lily slumped behind her desk in relief. Students were still filing in through the open door, but the sound was already lessening. At a time like this, she wished she had tested positive as autistic. Then she could get away with wearing her headphones in class like a few other students who wandered through the halls of the school. Once the door was shut and the bell rang, the usual cacophony of inner voices quieted slightly. The teacher coughed to get everyone's attention. "All right, class, we're having a pop quiz today to test your understanding of the material before I set up the study guide for the test." A chorus of grumbling could be heard by everyone, but Lily also got a nice earful of students cussing as they panicked. She grinned to herself. Pop quizzes were never a problem because she could pick the correct answers out of the smart students' heads with no one the wiser. Why bother expending effort herself? She had so many better things to do than study. With the quiz paper on her desk, Lily leisurely twirled her pencil and waited for Owen Miller, the highest-scoring student in the class, to start circling answers. The only hard part was picking his voice out from the others. A? I think it's A. Or maybe it's B. I have a 25% chance of getting this right even if I guess. I'll just pick C. I know I studied this, but is it Julius Caesar or Caesar Augustus who did that? Why are all these Roman names so similar? Owen breezed through it without putting in much effort. His thoughts were a simple sequence of letter options to circle, as opposed to the other students who had to really think about it. Lily made sure to purposely get one or two wrong so she wouldn't attract any attention. One of these days, she ought to find a way to thank him somehow. He had been in at least one of her classes every year since the 6th grade, and she clung to his test-taking answers more than any other individuals. On her way out the door after class, she gave him a dazzling smile as she passed him and told him to have a nice day. Bewildered, he thought, what's up with her today? Oh, what's her name? Lily. Yeah, we've had some other classes together, but she's never talked to me before. She's actually kind of cute when she smiles like that. All the way down the hall, Lily heard him and smiled even wider. The second school ended, Lily fished her bulky headphones out of her bag and turned on her epic movie soundtrack playlist to listen to on the bus. It helped dull everything around her into little more than the buzzing of a fly. She could still pick out the voices if she wanted to, but focusing on the music helped her ignore it for the most part. Except the bus was extra crowded today. Annoyed, she turned up the volume. Go away, all of you. She pulled her knees up onto the seat and hunched over them. It was just a bus ride. She would be home in less than 15 minutes. The thoughts of the rowdy kids on the bus leaked through in her panic, and she tried to steady her breathing. Her power was harder to control when she was upset. In, out. In, out. She was going to be fine. If she's hogging the TV when I get home, I'm going to kill her. Ugh, why are textbooks so heavy? My back is killing me. Can't wait to level up on Star Assassins. I only need 130 more XP so I can probably do it this afternoon. Why is Lily the only one who doesn't have to share a seat? So unfair. Lily's head snapped up at the sound of her name. She knew all the voices on this bus since most of them had been her neighbors for years. This one in particular belonged to a fairly popular girl in the drama club named Estelle who lived on her block. She and Estelle weren't friends, but they weren't on bad terms either. Sitting in the very back row, Lily peeked over the seats in front of her and saw that Estelle was squished up against the window, trapped by a very large boy she was fairly certain played as a linebacker on the football team. That explained it. It wouldn't make much of a difference if someone sat directly next to her or not, but people on the bus typically avoided Lily because her giant headphones gave off strong, disturb me and die vibes. When she finally reached her stop, she shot an apologetic look at Estelle as she squeezed her way out past the linebacker before skipping to her own house. She could hear her mom measuring out ingredients as she made her delicious homemade M&M cookies. Excellent. I'm home, she called cheerfully as she removed her headphones. It was much quieter inside the house. Sometimes, from certain areas, she could hear the neighbors directly surrounding her, but for the most part, it was only her family she had to contend with. Her parents had never managed to surprise her in her entire life on Christmases or birthdays, but she was used to it. At least her family's thoughts were relatively nice ones for the most part. Her parents were childhood sweethearts and loved each other, but it was a quiet, comfortable kind of love, so she was spared from too many mushy couple thoughts. Her younger brother, Noah, was another story. He had ADHD, so his mind went a million miles a minute. Sometimes she got whiplash listening to him. Hi, honey. can you take the dogs out for me while I put these cookies in the oven? Her mother asked sweetly. Her dad was a veterinarian, so the Chamberlain house consisted of 4 people, 2 dogs, 3 cats, a hamster, and a parakeet. They had a permit because they were over the city's basic pet limit. Sure, Mom. Duke! Bailey! Here, doggies! Lily called and heard them before she saw them. Animals didn't think in complex sentences the way humans did, but she could still tell what they were thinking. Right now, the only thing on their minds was, walk? Go on a walk? As their tails wagged expectantly. Duke and Bailey were brother and sister, and both mutts. Her dad suspected they were Pomeranian/Husky/German Shepherd mixes, but couldn't be sure since they came from an animal shelter as a bonded pair when their previous owner died. Whatever they were adorable. Yep, we're going on a walk. Their thoughts directly translated to the cartoonish concept of having exclamation points over their heads as they rushed off to fetch their leashes. Lily attached them to the dogs' collars with ease, and off they went after grabbing a couple of plastic bags, just in case. The sun beat down on them, but the October wind kept it from being considered warm. One of her neighbors looked out the window and thought, "Crazy girl, what's she doing with those 2 big dogs by herself?" Lily couldn't help but laugh. Her thin 5 feet 5 inches frame may look weak, but she had years of wrangling these 2 under her belt. 1 dog per hand was no problem, most of the time. There had been a few incidents of overexcitement when both of them saw a squirrel, and she had been pulled along by a combined force of 80 pounds barreling down the street working against her. Other thoughts from neighboring houses trickled through her consciousness as she walked. She really should have remembered to grab her headphones, but was preoccupied with the thought of cookies when she returned and forgot. Why can't I get this dumb chord right? Someone practicing the piano or possibly the violin. Skip, skip, skip. Why isn't there a button to skip all the commercials at once? A frustrated person watching TV who made a fair point. It would be easier to skip all the commercials at once instead of timing how many clicks it took. X equals negative b plus or minus radical something. What part comes next? A student working on algebra homework. Lily didn't have overall super hearing, so she had learned to read between the lines and figure out what people were doing solely based on their thoughts without context over time. It was one of the only interesting things ever to happen to her since nothing else was a mystery. No one could sneak up on her. No one could keep a secret from her. No one could lie to her and get away with it. It was incredibly boring, but what could she do? It took less than a year to be able to read the clues without context in elementary school. Nothing had really been all that exciting since. As she made her way back to her house, she was hit with a constant stream of thoughts from the same person. Noah must be getting home. What kind of snack did Mom make? I hope I can get some before I clean the litter boxes. I'd rather walk the dogs, but Lily always beats me to it. Should I play Lords of Warfare or Fallen Angels tonight? But I need to finish my math homework first. Or was it science homework? Something's due tomorrow that I haven't even started. I need to write things down better. Who am I kidding? I have a planner, but it's full of comic doodles, not homework assignments. I should try publishing them. No, I shouldn't. Who would want to read my dumb crap? Sure enough, his bus was pulling away from the curb. He spotted her and gave her a grin despite thinking, "Aw man, she did get to the dogs first. I don't want to clean the litter boxes. But that's better than the birdcage." "Ives, want me to take one?" he asked aloud. Noah, like her parents, wasn't aware of her powers. He would probably think it was the coolest thing ever, but he was a blabbermouth, and she didn't trust him not to tell everyone he knew and get her committed to a psychiatric hospital. "Sure, take Bailey. How was school?" He took the leash from her and chattered about what he and his friends did at lunch all the way back to the house. Thankfully, no one pooped, but Lily still washed her hands when she came inside. The first batch of cookies sat cooling on the counter, and she tossed one back and forth between her hands. Hot! For a moment before taking a bite of the gooey deliciousness. She moaned in appreciation. "Cookies!" Noah exclaimed before grabbing 2 and nearly dropping them on the floor from the unexpected heat on his fingertips. He managed to catch them before they landed and gingerly placed them on a napkin as he nursed his burned hand. "Thanks, Mom," the siblings chorused. Their mother shook her head at them with an amused smile. "You could at least wait until they've cooled down a little." "Impossible," Lily declared. "They're too good. Right, Eth?" "Yep." Their mother smiled indulgently. "If you say so." "Oh, and Noah, honey, you need to clean the litter boxes before you play any video games." "Aw, man," he whined. His internal monologue was much more colorful, and Lily snickered. If their mother knew how much of a potty mouth her son actually had, she didn't even want to imagine the consequences for her poor brother. When Lily was in 7th grade, she had managed to perfectly time doing her homework around her next-door neighbor, who was in the same grade. They had 2 of the same teachers, so she was able to use those thoughts to her advantage. Unfortunately, they hadn't shared any teachers since, so Lily started spending her lunch periods in the library. There was always at least one person around who shared assignments with her, so she got some of it done that way. Despite her tendency to cheat, Lily was actually pretty smart. But schoolwork bored her. She would much rather be immersed in books. TV shows were hard to get into unless they were really obscure because people always thought about spoilers. There were so many books in the world that it was much easier to avoid hearing people's thoughts about them. Mystery novels were her favorite. Sometimes she even managed not to guess who the killer was before the end. She also enjoyed learning languages. From a young age, she had studied to be fluent in Spanish so she would understand the thoughts of her Hispanic neighbors. Knowing what people were thinking was so natural to her that hearing things she couldn't understand made her uneasy. Spanish was her best after English, followed by German, but she also had a vague grasp of French, Italian, and Portuguese. Lily's plans after high school included majoring in linguistics and becoming an interpreter in another country. Maybe people overseas had different thoughts than the ones here did. It could be interesting. She didn't see the point of studying biology or US history when she could be studying languages instead. Her high school offered German as a language credit, so that had been her elective for the past 2 years. Everything else she had learned online or using books in the library. Die, die, die! No, not me! You die! Ugh, why is this so hard? I hate team battles. I'm the worst player here. I'm dragging my team down. Oh, wait! I did it! Yes! Who's awesome? I am! Wafted over from Noah's room, and Lily rolled her eyes. He was supposed to be working on homework now. He panicked internally a few minutes ago when he thought he heard their mom coming up the stairs. Traffic was terrible. Why can't I ever make it home before 7 o'clock? Lily's father thought wearily. She heard his thoughts coming up the driveway before the car was even parked. Deciding to take a break from her homework, she stretched and nearly tripped over the orange and white cat lying on her rug. Sorry, Peaches, she yelled as she bounded down the stairs to hug her dad. Even though she did this every day, he was always surprised when she threw herself at him. It brought her a faint sense of satisfaction every time. She couldn't be surprised herself, so she enjoyed doing it to others. Welcome home, Daddy, she greeted him with a bright smile. Lily was a daddy's girl through and through. Hi, Princess, he said warmly as he rubbed her hair. Do anything interesting at school today? Not really. I'm going shopping with Chloe this weekend, though. Her parents both knew Chloe since she was just about the only person Lily hung out with outside of school. That sounds fun, he said absently, as his thoughts betrayed his desire to locate his wife. So he was feeling sentimental today. Lily was in for a mush fest later. Joy. As predicted, once her parents met up in the hallway, there were a lot of lovey-dovey thoughts. Lily tiptoed into the kitchen and snatched a few more cookies while they were distracted, even though dinner would be ready soon. Creeping up the stairs, she did her best to block out the love fest and focus on her German homework. Lily hadn't gotten much sleep, so she stumbled through the school hallways like one of the undead. She could hear her parents' thoughts going a little wild for half the night, and what self-respecting teenager wanted to be witness to their parents going at it? Her English teacher was taking attendance, and it took her name being called 3 times for her to respond, to everyone else's amusement. Their thoughts stung worse than their muffled laughter. Lily sunk lower into her chair, wanting to disappear. How embarrassing. Normally, she didn't get caught off guard like that. As the lesson went on, Lily noticed someone worrying about her. I hope Lily's okay. She seems a little out of it this morning. Owen. Since when did Owen notice her? It must have been because everyone laughed at her blunder. They weren't exactly on speaking terms. Their interaction, if you could even call it that, from the day before was the first time they had spoken since being stuck together in a project group in 8th grade. She seems tired. I wonder why she smiled at me yesterday. Should I talk to her? Or should I wait for her to talk to me again? Lily scrunched up her face in confusion. So this was about yesterday. What's the big deal? Was she so aloof that telling someone to have a nice day was against the law? She took a moment to reflect on the flavor of Owen's thoughts. Dull, studious, repetitive. She never really paid all that much attention to him outside of test taking, but she had heard a fair amount of stray thoughts over the years. His primary concern seemed to be getting a full-ride scholarship to college. He had been in honors and AP classes the whole time she knew him and did things like academic decathlon and key club. Nerd stuff. I'm going to talk to her, Owen decided. I think I have some gum in my backpack. That could be an icebreaker. Lily was surprised he was putting so much thought into this. She heard thoughts about herself fairly often, especially from people she knew well, but from most people, they were barely in passing. When the bell rang, he hurried to catch up to her. His seat was 3 rows behind hers. "Hey, Lily, wait up!" She turned and tried to act like she didn't know what was coming. "Hi, Owen," she said with a yawn. "What's up?" He fiddled with his glasses nervously and pushed a strand of dark brown hair off his forehead. This is kind of random, but do you want some gum? It's really minty and always helps perk me up." She decided to tease him a bit. "Are you saying I look tired?" Panic flooded his face. "No, you look great. I mean, yeah, you seem a little tired, but that's not..." His thoughts were in even greater panic. Great, I just said the worst thing I could possibly say to a girl. She probably thinks I hate her. Stupid. I should go find a nice hole to go die in now. "Relax," she said with a smile. "I know I look tired. I hardly got any sleep last night. Gum would be great, thank you." Owen breathed a sigh of relief as he handed over a stick. "You're welcome. See you in a push." A push, pronounced as the letter A and the word push, was the nickname Apus history students had used for their subject for years. "See ya," Lily said cheerfully as she popped the gum in her mouth. As he walked away, his thoughts betrayed him yet again. I can't believe I just did that. That was so lame. So totally lame. She must think I'm an idiot. Why am I like this? So the seemingly unflappable Owen Miller was awkward around girls. Interesting. She might have to pay more attention to his thoughts than just getting test answers. At lunchtime, Lily headed to the library as usual, hoping to get some statistics homework done. She sighed when she remembered that it was Friday, food truck day. Almost everyone ate outside on Fridays because there were more options. The library was desolate. She spotted 1 student on a computer, 2 wandering through the bookshelves, and 2 more at different tables. None of them shared her statistics teacher. What a letdown. At least with so few people around, she was able to concentrate on outlining an essay without any difficulty. Unfortunately, essays were something she couldn't copy. When Lily got up from her table, she smacked directly into someone and dropped her backpack. She was stunned. She couldn't remember the last time she actually bumped into someone outside of a crowd where it was impossible to avoid. She always heard them coming, but this guy was completely silent. A man of few thoughts? She had encountered a few people like that over the years. "Sorry about that." "Are you okay?" he asked. Lily gawked up at him. Still nothing. People always had thoughts when they spoke, even if they more or less consisted of what was actually being said. There wasn't that kind of overlap here. The guy looked at her like she lost her marbles. Maybe she had. Had her power stopped working? $2 in late fees and he still hasn't returned the book? This one looks decent. Maybe I should read it next. Stupid word count. I'm only 78 words short. Divided by 3 would be 21, but what about this next step? Everyone else's thoughts were perfectly audible, but not this guy's. Lily recovered from her abstraction and gave him a small smile to indicate she wasn't crazy. "I'm fine. It was mostly my fault anyway." He shrugged it off. It was both our faults. Later." He walked away, and Lily was of half a mind to chase after him. But for what? It's not like she could demand answers from him. If she said, "Hey, why can't I read your mind?" to a random stranger, she would lose what little reputation she had in this school. He would think she was nuts, possibly even dangerous. That wouldn't do. She did her best to commit his features to memory in the hopes of finding him again later. Tan skin, short black hair, brown eyes. He dressed like a skater in cargo pants, a mall brand shirt, a studded leather bracelet, and sneakers. No one else had ever been exempt from her telepathy. How had she let the most intriguing person she had ever encountered walk away just like that? Lily's head was so full of thoughts of this mysterious boy that she hardly even noticed the buzz of the hallway after lunch. What made him different? Not knowing what he was thinking during their brief interaction churned her stomach into knots. Telepathy had become a crutch without even realizing it. Were there other people out there like him? What was she supposed to do about this? It bothered her for the rest of the day. Even her family noticed she was off. "What's wrong with you?" Noah asked with his mouth full of leftover cookies when noticed her pacing in the living room. How could she phrase this hypothetically? What would you do if you knew stuff but suddenly didn't anymore, but only about one thing? She cringed at how stupid that sounded, but it's not like she could tell the truth. "Very specific," he said sarcastically. "Shut up. Seriously though, I've never seen you like this." Her little brother actually looked concerned. "What's going on? Something at school?" Well, she needed to dumb this down to a normal person's level. "I met someone today who confused me. Normally I read people pretty well, but I don't get him at all." That seems safe enough. Anybody could read people based on body language. "That's it? Geez, Lily, I thought somebody was dying. You're normally super chill." Lily frowned. It was a big deal to her, okay? He couldn't understand. Maybe if she related it to something he knew. "You know that comic book character you like that's a telepath? The leader of that superhero school?" "Dr. K?" Noah asked excitedly. Imagine if there was a person whose mind he couldn't read. Wouldn't he feel like that person is an enemy? She was fairly certain the guy wasn't malicious. He looked like a regular high school student, but he definitely made her uneasy. There are a handful of people whose minds he can't read, like the Raven. Sometimes people are just immune to that kind of power. Not many, but they exist in the comic universe. "But how's that the same as you not understanding someone?" her brother asked. "It's not," she lied. "I was giving an example. It feels weird not being able to figure this guy out, okay?" Noah frowned. "If you're such an expert on human behavior, what am I thinking right now?" He concentrated really hard on trying to do a poker face, but ended up looking more constipated than anything. "She'll never guess what I'm thinking. I should go to Las Vegas. I'd make so much money. Nothing gets past me." She sighed. She didn't even need telepathy for this one. "You're thinking your poker face is foolproof, but it's not. Don't ever gamble." "You're the one with a bad poker face," Noah shouted as he fled up the stairs, embarrassed and cursing her out in his head. "She's better than I thought. She always gets me on stuff like this. It's not fair. Just because she's older, she thinks she knows everything. I know stuff too." He wasn't wrong. Noah gave her an idea. She could look up more about Dr. K's powers and their deficiencies. Having a research starting point would be helpful, even if it was fictional. It's not like there were any scientific sources she could use. To everyone else, telepathy wasn't a real concept. She checked out the character's informational webpage and soaked it all in like a sponge. Like her, Dr. K was born with his powers. Unlike her, he was able to read thoughts up to 250 miles away, project thoughts, manipulate thoughts, warp perceptions to make himself seem invisible, cause memory loss, and induce pain in other people. Yikes. Suddenly, that made her occasional cheating seem like nothing. As for the list of characters not affected by his powers, most of them, including the Raven, seemed to have great mental strength and made conscious efforts to block him out. These were people who knew about his abilities. How could this guy who had no idea she was a telepath be consciously aware enough to block her out? It had to be something else. If anything, her research into the world of Dr. K was even more perplexing. There had to be something else she could check besides comic books. The official source page on telepathy from the internet called it a pseudoscience and said all experiments were proven to be false, as expected. There were fictional accounts of telepaths in other comics, anime, sci-fi movies, and more. It took her hours to click through all of them, and none matched her quite right. It seemed like people believed telepathy itself was a lesser part of a greater group of powers, such as telekinesis or psychic abilities. She wasn't psychic, and she had never moved anything without using her own two hands. Why was this so frustrating? There wasn't a single soul alive that she could talk to about this without getting diagnosed with schizophrenia or something along those lines. She wasn't delusional. She did hear people's thoughts and could prove it, but fervently hoped she never had to. Was there anything else she could do about this guy without finding him again and conducting research in person? Am I totally ripping off the X-Men? Yes I am. #MarvelNerd. Chloe had stars in her eyes as she gleefully pranced around her favorite store in the mall. Everything is a minimum of 30% off. This one looks pretty. Oh, but this one's cuter. That's really soft. I think I should try that on. Stripes or floral? Or stripes with floral? There's too much to choose. Lily stood back and watched her energetically hop from rack to rack as she munched on a pizza-inspired soft pretzel with pepperoni and Parmesan cheese baked onto it. She wasn't exactly unfashionable, but she wasn't nearly as into clothes as Chloe was. She glanced down at her blue and white striped sweater and jeans with brand-name sneakers. No, she wasn't unfashionable, but this store was a bit much for her. Everything had weird extra straps or was off-shoulder or otherwise made more difficult to tell which limbs went through which hole. What exactly was the point of that? Who decided wearing a shirt needed to be more complicated? Lily, come help me decide which one to try on, Chloe implored, holding up two nearly identical blouses. The only differences were the color, light pink versus maroon, and the way the straps were set up. The floral pattern and general fit looked the same. Light pink is such a bad color on me. It totally washes me out. But I don't know, it's so cute. Lily, who knew little of such concerns, decided to go with what Chloe was already thinking. Choose the maroon. Okay, she chirped, and her inner monologue agreed, proving that Lily made the right choice to follow it. She's right. The maroon would look better on me. More striking against my hair and all. I'm so glad to have a second opinion. Lily, who didn't have an opinion at all, chuckled as her friend went off to the dressing room. Her attention wandered to the shoe store across the way. People over there were just as indecisive as Chloe. Do these make my ankles look fat? I'm afraid to ask. I can't really afford these, but it's buy one, get one half off. Light-up shoes or not? What do kids like these days? I can't remember. This one is cuter but costs $10 more. Ugh, I hate being poor. Ivy, how do I look? Chloe asked, calling her attention back. The redhead struck a dramatic pose, and Lily stifled a laugh. It looks good on you. You should get it. I should, shouldn't I? She agreed happily. Her inner monologue continued. But if I get this, I'll only have $20 left after the other things I picked. That's only enough for one more item. How could I possibly choose? Lily sighed. She couldn't afford to buy anything here, on sale or not. Most of her money went towards comprehensive language learning software packages. She wanted to improve her French because that would help with both Portuguese and Italian. Her mom bought her clothes when she outgrew her old ones, and that was enough for her needs. Oh, I talked to that boy in my math class. He said yes, so now I need a costume too. Don't think I can find that here though. It's superhero themed. Isn't that fun? Chloe asked as she continued searching the clothing racks for her last item of the day. More like ironic, considering how much time Lily spent researching fictional superheroes less than 24 hours ago. Please ask someone to come with you, Chloe begged. We don't have a group to go with, and that's half the fun for more casual girls' choice dances. It's not like prom. You're my best friend. I need you to have my back here. Her best friend, huh? If Lily really thought about it, that was probably how she would describe Chloe too. But who would she ask? Ideally, it would be her mystery boy so she could try to figure out how he ticked, but the odds of finding him again so soon were extremely slim. Especially since it would be super awkward to ask someone out whose name she didn't even know. The only other person she could think of was Owen, but she didn't want to give him any weird ideas. His thoughts weren't depraved like most of the guys in school, but she didn't want him thinking she liked him or anything. Although, if they went out to dinner before the dance, that could be how she repaid him for his unwitting help keeping her grades up in half her classes. They were both on the honors/AP track after all. They ran in similar academic circles. With a sigh, she relented. I actually do have someone I can try asking, but no promises. Chloe squealed and clutched Lily's arm in excitement. Ooh, do you like him? No, but I know him, so it probably wouldn't be too weird to ask. You won't regret this, I promise. We're going to have so much fun. That was what Chloe said, but Lily sat through 2 classes she had with Owen without saying a word the following Monday. She monitored his thoughts like a hawk to see if she could find the best opening. In AP Literature, The Great Gatsby was such an annoying book. All of the characters were terrible people. How is this considered classic literature? Do I really have to write an essay analyzing these people's motivations? Their motivations all suck. Could I get away with using summaries to write this? I've done it before. In AP Biology. Why does it have to be frogs? I'm going to pass out and everyone's going to laugh at me and I'm going to fail the assignment. What do I do? Breathe. Breathe. Okay, so my lab partner's doing it. I don't have to look. I don't have to. The smell. I'm going to puke. I'm going to puke and then pass out onto my puke. Help! That was the worst 45 minutes of my life. Why did I take this class? In APU Sach. There's got to be a song out there to help me memorize all the presidents. There's one for all the states. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut. Why is it stuck in my head? Wasn't there a cartoon when I was a kid that had a president's song? I think there was. I'll look it up when I get home. I have so much homework. Why did I take all AP classes? Oh yeah, because I hate myself. Did he ever think about anything other than school? Although the bit about the song getting stuck in his head was slightly amusing. Until it got stuck in Lily's head too. Countless songs over the years had been stuck in her head because they were in someone else's first. Is Lily looking at me? I feel like she's been looking at me. Why? What does she want? Owen fretted. Crap, she was caught. She had been looking at him on and off all throughout class because they sat in the same row on opposite sides of the classroom. Welp, that was as good of an opening as she was going to get. When class ended, she marched up to him and gave him her most winning smile. Do you want to go to the Sadie Hawkins dance with me? He stared at her, frozen in panic. She was looking at me. She wanted to ask me out? Me? Answer, you idiot, don't just stand there. Clearing his throat, he smiled back. Yeah, that would be great. Owen was totally freaking out despite a fairly convincing outer appearance. Did he have high-functioning anxiety or what? I've never been to a dance before in my life. What do I do? How do you even dance? What if I make a total fool of myself in front of her? We have half our classes together. I'd never be able to look her in the eye again. But it might be fun. If I don't die of embarrassment first. Lily gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Awesome! The theme is superheroes, so if you have any ideas, let me know. I can try to come up with some too. She just touched me. She just touched me. Wait, phone number. Ideas. Exchange phone numbers. Say something! We should exchange phone numbers. It might be easier to brainstorm that way, he said nonchalantly, belying his disjointed inner thoughts. Owen Miller had just become more interesting. My next class is across campus, so can we do it tomorrow? I'm going to be late, she said after hearing a passerby that checked their phone and realized that there were only 3 minutes left of passing period. Of course. I'll see you tomorrow. See you then. Another brilliant social interaction, Owen. Really top-notch, he berated himself as she headed in the opposite direction. Lily chuckled to herself. He wasn't as dull as she thought. This might actually be fun. Please leave a comment, review, or Power Stone if you like this story. Noah, I need a list of superhero pairs, Lily requested as they both flopped on the living room couches, messing around on their phones after school. Why? I'm going to a costume dance, and that's the theme. He sat up, eyes flashing in excitement. There are so many good ones. Brown Recluse and Eagle Eye, Mega Man and Ultra Woman, the Spider People, Lightning and Raven. Want to see my comics? I can show you some more. Noah continued a running list of comic book power couples in his head as he sprinted up the stairs. Catman and Sparrow, Poison Oak and Ace, Zatara and Starman, Galactica and... Who matches up with Galactica again? It'll come to me. He slapped a fat stack of comic books on the side table next to the couch. Check these out and see if any strike your fancy. Who are you going with anyway? Some guy from school, Lily said as she absently flicked through a comic book. I've vaguely known him since 6th grade, but we only recently started talking. You like him, Noah said in a sing-song voice. I do not, so shut up, she hissed, rolling up the comic book to smack him with it. Be nice to my comics or I won't let you use them anymore. Sorry, Lily muttered. He was being annoying, but she couldn't deny that he was helping her out. Lily and some guy from school, sitting in a tree. Kissing, Noah sang in his head. Her eye twitched, but she couldn't do anything about it since he didn't say it aloud. If he had, she would be able to chase him down without fear of retribution, since their mom had run to the grocery store. Her phone lit up with a bunch of texts from Chloe, who was also trying to decide costumes. How was Lily supposed to help her choose when she couldn't even figure out what to do herself? They all look good. Any of them would work, she sent back non-committally. Be more specific, she complained with a frowning emoji. Use the first one, Lily shot back, not caring one way or the other. The first idea on the list was Catman and Sparrow, one of the duos Noah suggested. That one was officially off her list. She couldn't use it if they were all going together. It would be weird. Owen cornered her right before first period started. My number is 20945678839. Lily blinked at him, startled. Could you repeat that after I get out my phone? Don't be overexcited, stupid. He pinked slightly. Yeah, sure. Sorry. He continued cursing himself out inside his head until the transaction was complete and Lily sent him a test text so he could save her number. My brother, the comic book addict, helped me come up with a few ideas already, but the bell's about to ring, so I'll text them to you later, she informed him. Sounds good. Talk to you later, then. He robotically walked back to his seat and placed his head on the desk in defeat. Lily had never seen him like this. Flustered. Anything less than the school's golden boy. There was still a year and a half to go before graduation, but he was in the running for valedictorian already. It struck her as strange that someone so academically intelligent was such a nervous wreck talking to a relatively non-threatening girl. She would have to pay attention to see if he did this around other people, or if she scared him somehow. In AP Bio, they were writing up their lab reports about the frogs they dissected. Lily half paid attention to what her lab partner was saying, and half eavesdropped on Owen. No dice. The conversation and inner monologue were perfectly normal and related to the work at hand. Maybe he was only weird when schoolwork wasn't involved. But when would she be able to test that theory? He didn't talk much about things not related to class. At lunch, she headed back to the library in hopes of catching her mystery boy once again. She had better luck here. He was checking out a book, so even though she couldn't hear his thoughts, she could hear the librarians as she went through the system. Mateo Rodriguez, there you are. Hey, wait a minute. He's the one who owes me $2 in late fees. Mr. Marquez, I need your late fees to be paid before I can give you this book, the librarian said primly. Do you accept cards? This is a school. Why would we accept cards? The librarian thought irately before giving a simple no as an answer. I don't have any cash on me, he said glumly. I do, Lily piped up before covering her hands over her mouth in horror. She was sitting halfway across the room. It was completely obvious she was eavesdropping. Surprise mingled with relief and recognition flashed across his face. I know you. You were in here last week and we bumped into each other. Yeah, that was me, she said, hiding a cringe. What a thing to be remembered for. She walked over and handed him $2. Here. His eyes widened. How did you know that my late fees were exactly $2? Oh no. She should have asked. Years of practice and she still slipped up from time to time. Lucky guess? Mateo accepted her answer at face value. I owe you one. Let me buy you hot chocolate or something? Yes, the perfect opportunity to get to know him better and possibly start to figure out why he was different. I'd like that. Do you hang out here often or should I get your number? She was surprised at her own boldness, but she wasn't about to let him get away from her again. At least she knew his name this time. He held out his phone so she could enter her number in and sent her a text so she could add him back. I'm usually working on homework during lunch, but it looks like you are too. Guess we'll have to actually enter the cafeteria to get that hot chocolate. The horror, he joked. However will we survive, she returned dryly, earning her a grin. You're all right, clumsy girl. Right. She never gave her name, just put it in his phone. Did he not notice? I'm Lily Albright. Nice to officially meet you, Lily Albright. I'm Mateo Rodriguez. He held his hand out and she shook it, still feeling wrong because where there should be a stream of thoughts was silence instead. What would it be like if they were alone within her 100-yard radius? Complete silence, for the first time in her entire life. She couldn't even imagine. When she was at home, someone was always there, even if it was only the pets with their simple way of thinking. Lily had never experienced true silence before. "I'll text you," she promised. "I want my hot chocolate." He gave her a lopsided grin. "Don't worry, I always keep my promises." He picked up his book and gave her a wave before disappearing out the door. Lily was satisfied. She had her mystery boy's contact details. She was going to meet with him soon and be able to conduct observational experiments to see what made him tick and why he was immune to her power. She would be able to figure this out. Definitely. It was hard coming up with this many superhero couple parody names. Their pronunciation is so bad I want to shoot myself, the German teacher, Lena Schmidt, thought dramatically in her native tongue. She had emigrated 4 years ago to marry an American she met while he was on a business trip, and she hated when students butchered her beautiful language. At least, it was something along those lines. Reading Mrs. Schmidt's thoughts could be difficult since Lily's German skills were basic at best. While there were some truly atrocious pronunciations going on, she sincerely hoped hers weren't counted in her teacher's criticism. She fancied herself fairly decent at accents for all the languages she spoke after much practice watching foreign films with subtitles. The third-year German students weren't allowed to speak English or ask questions in class without being penalized. So when Lily raised her hand to ask about the short essay they had to write, she did so in German, being extra mindful of how she pronounced things to avoid her teacher's ire, even if it was just in her head. Mrs. Schmidt was too nice to say such harsh things aloud. "Frau Schmidt, muss der gesamte Aufsatz in der gleichen Zeitform geschrieben werden, oder sollten wir Vergangenheit und Gegenwart verwenden?" Lily asked about which verb tenses they needed to use in their essay because last time everything was in past tense only to make it easier. "Beide Zeiten. Sie alle brauchen die Übung vor der nächsten Prüfung," the teacher replied. Both tenses because the students needed practice for their upcoming test. She smiled and thought warmly, "This girl speaks German more proficiently than most of these students combined. She must practice a lot." Lily fist-pumped under the table. Success! She loved hearing praise inside other people's heads. It was one of the only enjoyable things about having this power. Several students groaned and even more complained internally. Both tenses? Ugh, it's hard enough keeping track of one. Well, I'm officially failing this. I knew I should have taken Spanish. This is going to keep me up all night, isn't it? You can go take your stupid tenses and shove them up your... Lily sighed. Some of the comments were even more unsavory. High schoolers could have such nasty thoughts. Through no fault of her own, her innocence was lost far too soon. People's heads could be far worse than the adult websites her mother forbid her and Noah from seeing. It's not like she wanted to see that stuff anyway. She heard more than enough of it at school, especially from boys. When the bell rang, her thoughts were a strange mixture of German, English, and Italian, because a random opera song someone had thought near her once kept running through her head. That was the problem with being multilingual. It was very difficult to keep things straight. "Lily Albright," the AP bio teacher called a few minutes into her next class. She responded, "Ja, intendo sì. Aspetta, non è quello. Welche language spreche ich? Wait, no, that's not..." Lily hung her head in shame as people's confused thoughts flooded her mind. A few of them thought she was possessed. "What is it, Mr. Meyer?" "If you're done, please read the second paragraph on page 57, in English." Laughter broke out among her classmates, and she sunk further in her seat as she read about the main differences between amphibians and reptiles. What was she even saying? That was so weird. Part of that was German. What was the other part? What a freak. I thought she was American. 3 languages in less than 30 seconds. What kind of crazy person is she? I didn't know Lily spoke German, or whatever else that was. It wasn't Spanish, but it was a little similar. The last thought came from Owen, sitting 2 rows over. His thoughts on the incident were among the more charitable ones. Lily felt oddly grateful that he was merely curious rather than mocking her internally like most. She really needed to watch herself better. If she didn't blend in and keep her head low, she might be treated the way she was in her early elementary school years. Or worse, get outed as a telepath.
She was always so careful. Before this, she only ever mixed her languages up at home when she was practicing in her room with no one the wiser. After class, she tried to escape the room as quickly as possible so she could go drown her sorrows in the last of the M&M cookies her mom had packed in her lunch. Lily found a relatively secluded spot in a forgotten hallway to eat before heading to the library, since no food was allowed in there. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mateo so soon?
Hey, clumsy girl. Turns out I have to make up a quiz during lunch today, so I won't be able to meet you for hot chocolate. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow was fine. Swimming in a sea of mortification, she wasn't in the mood to talk to anybody right now anyway. She needed to be on her A game when he was around so she could figure him out. Come to think of it, what sort of observational experiments could she even do? She needed to come up with a plan to keep running into Mateo after the hot chocolate excuse was over and done with. Finding out his secret definitely wasn't going to happen during one lunch period. Works for me. I'll meet you outside of the cafeteria tomorrow. See you then. He sent a thumbs up emoji in response. Well, that was one thing taken care of. Lily looked at the plastic bag that once held her cookies. Only a few crumbs remained. How unfortunate. She wasn't completely cheered up yet, and they were already gone. With a sigh, she hoisted her backpack onto her shoulders and trudged to the library. She may as well start on that German essay since it was already on the brain. She worked diligently throughout lunch, basking in the relative quiet of the library. Less than 10 people's thoughts in a room so large were easy to block out if she concentrated. Putting on her noise-canceling headphones and putting on classical music helped too. There were no rules against headphones at lunch. Why is Lily so good at disappearing? A complaining inner voice broke through her barrier. Oh no, Chloe. Try as she might, Chloe had yet to locate Lily's hiding place during lunch. If she had things her way, she would drag poor Lily into the crowded, horribly overwhelming cafeteria for lunch to sit with her large group of friends. They took up 3 tables pushed together. The one time Chloe caught her had been horrible. Lily's head hurt so badly that she needed to go to the nurse's office and lie down, missing 6th period. That was an experience she would rather not repeat. If Lily could hear her, she had to be near the library, which meant she could probably see through the glass doors or adjacent windows to where Lily was sitting. Frantically saving her document onto the flash drive she always carried with her, she exited out of the computer and scuttled to safety behind some bookshelves. Chloe wouldn't be able to find her unless she came into the library personally. Is she in the library? Chloe thought as she passed by. No, I don't see her. Maybe she's in the bathroom, but there are like 3 different bathrooms on this floor. Ugh, I should really just text her, but she always keeps her phone on silent at school. Probably wouldn't get it in time anyway. Chloe's inner voice faded off, indicating she was out of range. Lily's heart rate slowly went back to what it was before the scare. Although, she couldn't help but wonder what Chloe wanted to talk to her about. She usually didn't bother looking during the middle of lunch, preferring to try scouting her out at the beginning so Lily could eat with her. Oh well, she could ask later. Glancing at the clock, Lily saw that there were less than 10 minutes left of the break. Not enough time to make any progress on her essay after logging back into a computer. With a sigh, she pulled a mystery novel out of her backpack and figured she could get a few pages in before it was time to go to Apash. Engrossed in the novel, she was startled when the bell rang, and she was just about to find out whether or not the murderer was the current boyfriend or the supposedly dead ex-fiancé, too. How lame. English, think English, she muttered to herself, not wanting to make the same mistake from this morning. She should be fine. Reading the book in English had helped her transition back after working on her German essay. Oh, there she is, Chloe thought happily, spotting her as she rounded a corner. At least she didn't get spotted exiting the library. Then she would never be able to work on homework in peace ever again. Ivy! She crowed, trying to drape herself across her friend, who successfully dodged, as usual. Hey, Chloe, what's up? Didn't you get my texts? The other girl pouted. Sorry, my phone was on silent, she said truthfully, even though she knew Chloe was planning to text her. Ah, the half-truths of a telepath. Whatever. I wanted to talk to you about costumes. I need help putting mine together, and I thought if you figured out who you wanted to go as, we could work on them together. Her inner thoughts went a mile a minute, worrying about getting it done in time. The dance is a week and a half away. I don't have anything ready. If I screw this up, Mateo won't like me anymore, and we won't get married, but even worse, I won't pass Algebra 2. Mateo? Mateo Rodriguez, the Silent Thoughts guy, Mateo? Chloe hadn't thought of a last name. Lily didn't know anything about him other than that he was a student here. Sophomores, juniors, and seniors could all take Algebra 2 depending on their math levels before entering high school. Grade was no real indication of whether or not he would be in that class anyway. More than anything, Lily wanted to ask, but how could she bring it up without seeming completely random? More likely than not, she needed to wait until the day of the dance to find out for sure. If it was the same Mateo, going together as a group might help her gather intel. This could be a good thing. I'm completely floored. This is ranked 8th in the contest currently. Thank you for all your support. I need to finalize the costume idea with my date, but we can work on it once that happens, Lily said soothingly. I have my next class with him. Maybe I can ask then. Chloe perked up instantly. Great! Text me what he says, she called as she hurried upstairs to her next class. Should I get McDonald's or Burger King on the way home? I want a burger and fries so bad. If I go to the nurse's office right now pretending to have a headache, I can avoid not turning in the homework I didn't do and have an extra day. Where did I put my student ID? Did it fall out of my pocket at lunch? It needs to just be Christmas break already. Why is it so far away? The sea of thoughts raging through Lily's mind went down several notches when the door to the APU-SH classroom shut. The bell hadn't rung yet, so she leaned over to catch Owen's attention and mouthed, "Talk to me after class." He nodded before facing forward with furrowed brows. Is this about the dance? It has to be about the dance. Why else would she talk to you? Unless she forgot what the homework was. Come to think of it, what was the homework? It's not due for another 2 days, but I should really get on that. All right, class, today we're doing a review game for the test tomorrow, the teacher said brightly. This announcement excited most of the students. Review games could be helpful, but a lot of them simply wanted to mentally check out for the rest of the period since the setup of the game made it easier to get away with. Lily always did well at these games because she could pick the right answer out of the teacher's mind. When given the option, people tended to choose her, Owen, and a few other overachievers to be on their teams. The teacher gestured with her arm. This half of the class is Team A. The other half is Team B. Whoever gets the most points wins some of this. She held up a bag of assorted miniature chocolate bars. Everyone sat up a little straighter in their seats. She never gave us candy before. I'll have to actually try this time. Chocolate sounds amazing right now. Owen's on my team. The prize is ours for sure. Aw, and I really wanted to just sit here too. Everyone will kill me if we don't win. Seeing the students' unusual interest, Ms. Hoffman smiled to herself and thought, I should have used candy as an incentive ages ago. Lily secretly applauded the teacher's tactics. Her classmates had never been this pumped up over a review game before. She glanced around to see who was on her team. A few of the class's slackers. Honestly, why did they enroll in an AP class if they didn't want to do anything? A handful of standard AP students, and Sophie Coleman, whose grades were almost as high as Owen's. They had a decent chance with 2 of the class aces on their team. The game was formatted like a popular TV game show. Contestants chose a category and point value and were given an answer, having to come up with the question themselves. A slacker named Elias was called on first. Crap, which of these things do I actually know? People, the Constitution. States for 200, Elias called out. Ms. Hoffman clicked on it from behind her desk and the answer displayed in blue on the projector. The oldest state in the United States of America. Elias panicked. Oh, I know this! Do I know this? I feel like I should know this. We definitely talked about it in class. 20 seconds, the teacher announced how much time he had left to answer before the other team got a chance. Come on, you idiot. Don't blow this for us. The answer is obviously Delaware. Delaware. Totally Delaware. We talked about this last week. Get your act together. The other students on Lily's team were not happy. All of them knew the answer except the guy who had been asked. The timer dinged and Elias had nothing. The rest of his teammates cursed him out internally for screwing up such a simple question. Owen raised his hand and the teacher let him answer for his team. What is Delaware? Correct! 200 points to Team A. Team B's descent grew worse, and Lily felt sorry for the poor guy. It sucks being turned on by a pack of chocolate-craving vultures. Team A got their own question right too, worth 400 points, so Team B's morale sunk even lower. Court cases for 500, Sophie said confidently on their next turn. She had been studying for a week and was certain she knew anything Ms. Hoffman could throw at them. The screen read, "This court case decided that interstate commerce could only be controlled by the federal government, not the states." Lily's teammates got nervous. "I feel like I should know this one. Both the people's names started with M." "Sophie knows this, right? I haven't got a clue." "Hey, I know this. Marbury versus Madison. She doesn't need to know the year though, right?" "What is Marbury versus Madison?" she answered in a clear voice. "Correct. 500 points for Team B." Team B's students whispered, "Good job," or otherwise congratulated Sophie, who preened at the attention. Lily rolled her eyes. It wasn't that big a deal. It was only the second question, and they were 100 points behind. Team A had the advantage. Several questions later, Team B was falling further behind. Her teammates' thoughts were mutinous. It didn't help that Team A had chosen all of the 400-point questions and one of the 500-point ones. Feeling desperate, one of her teammates picked people for 500 points to try and catch up. The problem was, she didn't know the answer. How am I supposed to know who the first female member of the Supreme Court was? Did we even cover that? I thought this test was on the 1800s. Lily sighed. She picked the answer out of the teacher's head, Sandra Day O'Connor. Her teammate didn't have a clue. The others were getting restless. They really wanted that candy. If she didn't get it right and the other team did, there might be an angry mob on their hands. Lily pointedly thought Sandra Day O'Connor in the poor girl's direction as hard as she could, wishing in the moment that she were Dr. K. "Who is Sandra Day O'Connor?" the girl blurted, startling Lily so much she nearly fell out of her seat. She was concentrating so hard she wasn't paying attention to the other girl's thoughts anymore. Had she come up with it on her own, or did Lily's attempt at thought transmission actually work? She leaned forward in her seat, resting her chin on her clasped hands. There was no way that actually just worked, right? Her powers had been consistent and unchanging for as long as she could remember. The only thing that got better was her ability to tune things out with practice. Since she typically thought of her power as a curse, she had never tried pushing the limits. Maybe there was more she could do with them. Lily couldn't let herself jump to conclusions. She would have to try again several times to be sure this wasn't a mere coincidence. Her lips curled up mischievously. The guy who was up on the other team was debating between two answers, violence or unions. Ms. Hoffman's thoughts indicated that the correct answer was violence. Lily thought unions really hard at him. "What are unions?" the poor student cried. "Incorrect. Anyone from Team B know the answer?" "What is violence?" Lily asked primly. Her teammates' thoughts grew excited. The 500 points she stole from them boosted them to only being 100 points behind the other team. That wasn't the best test. He was deliberating anyway. There wasn't exactly a foolproof way to do this. Repeating it over and over was the only way to have an idea of what was going on. Over the next several rounds, she continued aiming wrong answers at the other team and right answers at her own. Unless it was the most bizarre series of coincidences ever, Lily was actually influencing their thoughts. No way. Owen was up and an inkling of guilt hit her conscience. He never got answers wrong in front of the class. If she messed with his head, he would be embarrassed. Peeking up at the board, she saw that her team was far enough ahead that as long as they got their last question right, they would still win the candy. She decided to let him go. "All right, Lily, it's your turn," Ms. Hoffman said as the blue screen displayed, "This president initiated the war on poverty that began a huge shift from power away from the states to the federal government." She heard the answer clearly inside multiple people's heads. "Who is Lyndon Johnson?" "Correct! Team B wins. Come claim your candy before the bell rings." Lily's teammates were ecstatic. "I can't believe we won! Are there any of the peanut butter ones left?" Owen's team almost never loses. They were really off their game today. I'm never on the winning team. This is great. I'm surprised those dummies actually knew the right answers this time. They never participate in games like this. She tried focusing on those happy thoughts rather than the upset ones from the other team. Team B wasn't supposed to win. Lily had tipped the scales in their favor by testing the limits of her ability. She would have felt really guilty if she wasn't enjoying the chocolate so much.